Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about volume 27 of Kaguya-sama, Love is War. It's the second to last volume of the whole series. So we're really closing in on the end. It's very exciting, I think. Additionally, this is the first episode of the podcast that we're releasing after we passed our 3-year anniversary of the podcast. So that's also quite fun. 3 years of Umami Manga.
Happy 3 years.
Yay.
Did you get me something?
I
got you something.
Oh. No.
Oh, well, this is awkward.
This is awkward. Anyway, let me go over the summary of this volume real quick.
He's like, I don't know how to respond to this.
Well, the summary for volume 27, obviously it's very near the end, but it's not quite the end. At the start of this volume, it's established that the Shinomiya family is now more or less at peace. The siblings are able to work together, and the Shinomiya and the Shijo families are also at peace since quite early on in this volume. And Miyuki moved to America. We also dove into the final stretch of chapters that will show us what happens after the story's climax, and summer break begins. And lastly, the volume ends with Chika's final ramen showdown, thus leaving us longing for the final volume.
Couple things I'll add is that Miko attempts to get closer to you.
Yes, that continues.
Even though he's studying abroad. And then Kaguya takes steps forward as a photographer.
Indeed, that as well.
I think that's what I would say are the main points of this volume.
For sure. And I noticed at the very start of the book itself, they finally updated the info about each character's school year in the characters page.
Yes, they did.
Which we talked about a couple volumes back. And and I was kind of thinking that they'll probably never bother. We're so close to the end now, they probably will never change that. But now, one book away from the final one, they did actually change it finally. And I assume that's on the localization team somehow. It's just a thought or a feeling I got.
Yeah, did they never notice it? Or I don't know.
I really don't know, but maybe it's silly of me to think of it this way, but I was wondering if the localization team noticed it themselves or if they changed it because they listened to us complaining about it on our podcast. That's probably not the case. But yeah, we did point it out. I think it was volume 24. I was like, why haven't they updated this? And then they didn't update it until now, but whatever. Maybe it's my hubris making me think of it this way. Well, anything else you want to say before we dive into the characters?
No, I'm ready to go.
Exciting. Then let's start with Kaguya Shinomiya. She seems to be at least on decent terms with her brothers now.
Yeah.
And Oko put her in charge of settling things with the Shijo clan, which apparently she did quite well, with a little bit of help from Maki, but yeah, they got that settled.
Yeah, that seemed to work out. And part of that was that they also burned Ganon's will.
Right.
So now supposedly they're going to work things out amongst themselves, but it also makes it so that Kaguya will be free to do what she wants, I guess. It wasn't really, to me, it wasn't clearly stated what that entails, other than that they're just going to figure it out among themselves. Maybe you had understood it better than I did.
No, but I do think it's something along those lines, and it did seem to imply that at least Oko is becoming a better person on some level. And I'm choosing to think that is because, as we saw briefly in the previous volume, that he and Kaguya are starting to try to bond with one another as siblings.
Yeah.
We only saw it very briefly previously, but I'm assuming it's happening more behind the scenes as well.
Yeah. I think the volume implies that because he's willing to trust his siblings more, Kaguya, Unyo, and Seiryu, like that is somehow changing his mindset and may even make him so his old mindset will change as well. It seems a bit of a stretch to me that all of that is changing, but you know,
Mm,
this is
mm.
not new. Like everyone that we thought was some sort of obstacle turns out to be deeper, or not deeper, but not as bad, not as terrible. And it's like kind of an optimistic way of looking at things, but maybe also a
Yeah.
realistic one. I mean, sure, you're gonna have people who take advantage of people no matter what, but deep down, I think a lot of us, maybe most of us, try to be or want to be sympathetic, want to be a better person,
Yeah.
and maybe
Right.
having these antagonists become less antagonistic is a sign of that optimistic outlook on life potentially.
I
I don't know.
like that. I like
That's
thinking
how
about it
I'm
that way. Yeah.
justifying it.
Right. Yeah. No. I think that's neat. I think it's nice. And I think it works. I think like sure, I could see if someone thinks it's a bit of a stretch, but I guess I don't mind this stretch because of the positive, well, optimism of it, as well as the fact that I think it makes enough sense. Like we have seen a little bit of like a
Right.
start to their bonding as siblings, and I think it's easy to assume that it's continuing to happen behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. But throughout this entire volume, I felt like Kaguya was just absolutely Twitter pated, just using the Disney term, completely in love and just Baka Kaguya really.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was kind of nice seeing that after the last few volumes of kind of more intense drama, to go back to the Kage who can almost kind of be herself in a way. Not to say
Hmm.
that she's always this, lovey dovey, but she's able to express her feelings in a way that's comfortable for her.
Yeah, exactly. And like for example, in her scene with Maki, she was expressing very openly several things, that she would be doing in private with Miyuki and stuff like that,
Well,
which
that's a little
obviously
different. Me.
it's different. I I know it's a bit different, and it wasn't particularly nice to Maki, but it still is one of the signs that really shows how much she has grown since the start of the story. Since she would never
That's
like
true.
express those types of things openly to anybody, like maybe not even to herself,
Uh
at the
huh.
start of the story. So I do still enjoy seeing that. Plus, another thing about that whole scene with her, admittedly being quite mean toward Maki, and like basically criticizing Maki's obsession with Tsubasa, which obviously has
Mm-hmm.
been going on since forever. But it reminded me of how we saw in a flashback to how Kaguya acted mean toward Chika in the past, ultimately making Chika quit playing the piano. But
Ah.
she did it like she came from a she had good intentions about it, because, or at least from what we discussed, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it seemed like she did it because she understood that Chika was kind of suffering for it to some extent, and it was her way of helping Chika
Mm-hmm.
stop doing that and stop putting herself through that. And I see this as a similar thing.
Yeah.
Kaguya is genuinely wanting to help Maki let go of that obsession with her best friend's boyfriend. Uh, in a way, like I guess I don't doubt that part of her was also in the mood to boast. She was. It definitely was that on some level as well. But I also like to view it as at least also partially her trying to help Maki get over it.
The Chica one, I'm unsure of actually if she had good intentions, especially
Mm.
since I'm pretty sure Kaguya herself was like, "Oh, I do remember that. I'm pretty sure I just hated you," or was just jealous or something like that. But Chica took it in a good way, and obviously that led to their good friendship. If I'm remembering all that correctly, but I 100% agree with you in terms of this, in that it does feel like she's trying to help Maki overcome or not overcome, but get over her feelings for a guy she has no chance with. By kind of mentioning that, I mean, you could do so much better. That in some cases your best friend will do that if they're trying to console you. Sometimes that works better with others than it does to some. It
Right.
depends. And in this case, it was not maybe not the way to go, and it did really hurt Maki's feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say for a fact that's what she was trying to do, but that's what I got when I read it. I wrote the exact same thing,
Cool.
and so I want to believe that's where her heart was in that moment, um, while also being the the wise auntie at that time. Um,
Yeah.
but that obviously triggered Maki's attack instinct, and so she
Mm.
went on the attack and said things that obviously she doesn't really feel like, or
Yeah.
that doesn't
Yeah.
really mean.
Mm.
And then that in turn triggered Kaguya to go even more extreme and start boasting like that. That's where we get the whole. She
Hmm.
goes into detail about her love life with Miyuki, and that's where I think that part of it is maybe not uh, wholesome in a way. I mean, it was funny, and their love life is wholesome in general. But the part
Mm.
the part where you start talking about your intimate life just to make someone feel inadequate or
Yeah.
to brag,
Mm.
that's her no. And she knows. They
Yeah.
both know they were in the wrong in that moment.
I think so. Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they
Right.
can't help it. Like this has been their relationship for who knows how long now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I totally get Kaguya's frustration over not getting to, you know, get any alone time with Miyuki before his departure to America. Like, totally understandable. But she did oversleep on the day of his departure. So that one's all on her, really.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, so uncharacteristic too. Yeah, but I this is the new Kaguya. This is the true Kaguya. A girl who gets excited and just
hmm.
can't sleep. I mean, I've been there. The times where
Oh,
I
oh
can't
yeah,
sleep because I'm just too excited about the next day
for sure,
or whatever.
for sure. But of course, Kage would solve the problem of her oversleeping by, well, with money, as she always
Yeah,
solves all of her problems with money. She can afford I believe that was a private jet,
that's what
um,
I'm thinking
uh,
too. If
to
you're
follow
gonna if you're
Miyuki.
gonna beat Miyuki or get there around the same time he does, that it
Uh
had
huh.
to had to been a private one.
Yeah, right. So I love how she was just like crying all the way to America and into
Yeah,
Miyuki's arms.
it was so great, so
And
great.
so now we've seen Kaguya fly to meet Miyuki in California, just like she does at the like in the end credits of the Kaguya-sama movie,
Oh,
which I brought up, I believe, last time we talked. And so, yeah, I didn't think we'd get to see that until the final volume, but well, we've seen it already here. So
it's a little different situation, right? Or at least a little different in terms of how it's framed out,
it is,
right?
yeah, right, for sure. There we don't see any of the crying in the end credits for the movie,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and little stuff like that. But it is still her following Miyuki to America.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume this was, or maybe at least this was what they were inspired by, or at the very least the fact that she goes to visit him, because apparently she's going to see him more frequently than they thought they'd be doing,
Uh-huh.
so I guess her visit to see him in the end credits of the movie may just be another one of those regular visits, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Kaguya's father passed away at the start of summer break,
Mm.
and Kaguya was feeling bad about not crying for him. And I guess I, I definitely don't blame her for. Well, I don't blame her for feeling bad about not crying, because I guess that makes sense, like for
Mm-hmm.
to feel that way. And I also don't blame her for not crying, considering that they really were never that close. Like,
Right.
even though sure they were related and everything, that he was never a father figure to her, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that there was a brief scene at the end of that chapter in the evening after Kaguya had taken photos of you,
Mm-hmm.
when she got home and she was sitting at her desk. by the picture of her dad, and she was kind of talking to him. For most of that part, we don't really see her face. Like at the start of it, I think there's a shot where we do see her face, but like after that, we don't. We only see her from behind. And
Hmm.
my thinking is that she is crying for him then, as she's sitting there talking to him. I'm choosing to think that for now, at least, unless we get any different information. I'm choosing to think that she actually, like, the tears finally came in that moment.
Mm. Yeah, usually in manga they would give some kind of a clue, whether a onomatopoeia or the sound effect of
Hmm.
sobbing or something or even showing a teardrop in some creative way. I think for me to be fully convinced that she's actually crying in that moment, I would have to see how the voice actress interprets it or how the
Ooh,
voice director does,
yeah.
because
Ooh.
I
Mm-mm.
think you could get a really interesting kind of break in the voice
For
if
sure, like having
she's
like a
crying.
shaky voice
Yeah,
in some sense.
yeah,
That I would love it if they did that. Whenever it gets here in the anime.
right. 2026 or whatever. Anyway, I could I could also see it being kind of just a very melancholy, somber reading of it that
Mm,
I mean is not unfamiliar with Kaguya herself.
for sure, that would definitely would work too. But yeah, like earlier in that day, she's taking photos, and she was, at least for a moment, kind of coming to terms with the fact that this is the first time that she's bad at something, taking photos of people specifically. But you gave her some advice, and it seems like she's starting to get the hang of it now. Like understanding that, or I think you helped her to understand that she does like people, even though she never thought she did.
Hmm.
And I think that was a nice revelation of sorts for her.
Yeah, it was an interesting way of looking at her own feelings in terms of not being able to make people smile
Mm,
or laugh or things like that. But yeah, I think you really kind of put it into perspective. Is that no? I mean, sure, you're not like the gag comedic that you may think of when you hear the word make people smile, but
right. Yeah.
she just her presence and her friendship or what make others around her smile. And I think that was just a really kind of a nice nod to who Kaguya is as a person and what she
Mm,
brings as a friend.
absolutely.
Talking about the photography, that she's only really been doing it for 6 months.
Right.
I think that kind of puts that whole dream into perspective a little better for me. Because if this had been a thing that had been going on for like a long time, I I would have that would have been very odd to me. And that's kind of I think that was kind of the idea I had uh when it was revealed last volume. But correct me if she had said I only just got that dream recently or something like that. But at the time I felt like it was abrupt and also just that it wouldn't make sense if she had always had that dream.
Right. Right.
But I think for the fact that it's just been 6 months that she's really been practicing and really only wanted to become one recently, I think that would make sense for a person to suddenly have that passion or that idea, that thought, and then start rolling with it.
Mm, mm.
I still wish there would have been some sort of or a little more hinting at that being something she would be interested in. Obviously, we had that chapter with her camera phone and then getting the smartphone, and that was all great. But I kind of wish she had been taking more pictures in between, and then that
Fair.
evolution would have made a little bit more sense. But that's
Right.
just me
Mm.
nitpicking and overanalyzing, as we were talking about in our server today.
Right, on Discord, yeah.
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 But yeah, that just my thoughts on that.
Right, right. And I think that is totally fair. I am also glad that we got that specification on for how long she has been having that dream,
Uh
or
huh.
wanting to pursue that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I necessarily like got the vibe that it was some. Like, I didn't really put much thought, I guess, last volume into how long she had that dream,
Mm-hmm.
based on what we learned. But it's nice to get that here, and I wonder, because half a year ago, that is a about half the story ago, because the story
Oh, yeah,
has been
right.
taking place over the course of a year, roughly, so far.
True.
And I wonder if that may have been around
Is
the
it only a year or
time,
2 years?
1 year.
Are you sure?
Well, a year and a few months, maybe at most. But
Because if we're talking like 6 months, like I would think, I'm pretty sure they're referencing the chapter that she lost her flip phone and had to get a smartphone, and realized
yeah.
how important the pictures are for her.
Hmm.
And that was when Miko would come in. So we had a few volumes and into the story, like 6 or 7 or however many it was. So I feel like that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. That was, I believe, volume 10, and
Oh,
just kind
that's right.
of going off of like well, just my gut now. I'm thinking that may have taken place in like October or November,
Oh,
like
really?
time wise or something like that. Because by volume 12, we were already in December. Since the student like the culture festival was in at the end of December, so I think it makes sense for it to have been somewhere around there. So maybe she didn't pick it up immediately after that, but that may have still been maybe her realization or her understanding that, oh, photography is something that I have a passion for of some kind, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was a little bit after that that she picked it up properly, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on Kaguya?
I forgot to mention that her wish to take a picture with her father is very sweet, even though she, like you said, she didn't have
Mm,
really that connection, but she wanted that connection.
right. Mm,
Um, and maybe we talked about the last volume, but it definitely was reinforced here that fatherly figure, or just any sort of family, is what she really yearned for, and that's been around for a while. Like those
yeah.
feelings have
Oh
been
yes.
established for a while now.
Very much so. Mm.
I still think it is a little strange that we're suddenly putting Ganon as this somewhat good person, where at the beginning of the story it felt like he's very, very terrible and
True.
cruel and
Mm.
whatnot. So I still have mixed feelings about that. I mean, obviously, forgiving is important, but
Mm.
I don't know. I know we're complicated people. I get it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah. Well, then next up, let's talk about Miyuki Shirogane.
Okay.
We learned through case narration that uh, ever since Miyuki was a kid, other kids have teasingly been calling him Miyuki-chan, because his name sounds feminine somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and that Miyuki absolutely hates that nickname, and he can turn rather mad when someone calls him that, like we see when Chika calls him that, for example, in this movie. That was scary, honestly.
Yeah, no, great
uh,
face.
but of course, Kaguya is allowed to call him Miyuki-chan, so that's very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I did love that.
Hmm. I like how in the end he was really not that far away. He's just a video screen and a jet ride away. Private jet ride
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. And actually, it's maybe not exactly this, but this is still somewhat along the lines of what I had imagined for him leaving, is that in this day and age, traveling abroad is not like that big a deal. Like, sure, it's a big deal, but like, it's not
Hmm.
like going to the moon or whatever. Like, it's a
Yeah, you're right.
like there are still so many ways to communicate and to go see each other, and obviously especially with Kaguya's economy. But like just yeah, it's nice to see that they're making it work and they're finding little ways here and there to make it easier.
To be fair to the characters, it's definitely an emotional shock when someone is leaving the country, or
Oh yeah.
leaving far away, or things like that.
Mm,
But then you realize, oh wait, technology, or maybe not even a realization, but technology quickly fills
mm,
that gap. You
right,
know.
right. Yeah, and I also really loved that the little goodbye moments that Miyuki got to have with you and with Miko, like, but both of those really I thought were really touching little interactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like at the school roof, or I believe it was at the school roof,
Mm-hmm.
that chapter. By the end of it, when the other guys came and wanted to sing karaoke with Miyuki, and like Miyuki went along with it, even though sure it was expressed through his thoughts that he did want to spend time with Kaguya, but ultimately he still went along with those guys to go do karaoke for that evening,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know, it didn't sit quite right with me, honestly. I felt like he should have given Kaguya that time. uh, like I don't know. Sure, it was fine in the end because she would end up following him to California and whatnot, and she would
Uh-huh.
go visit him and whatnot. But they didn't know that at the time, and I think that the last evening or the last night of your time in Japan, you'd want to spend with your girlfriend, right? Like I don't know. I didn't quite agree with Miyuki in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, no idea what was going on there. Uh, maybe he felt like, just as a stretch, maybe he felt like I have to keep up the idea that I'm still single and not dating anybody. I, I,
Perhaps. I mean,
I
actually, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that was his mindset there.
silly, but
Right.
whatever. I guess it made for somewhat good comedy there.
Yeah, yeah.
It set up uh, Chica's classic PTSD, so that was great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring in Unyo here. So
Yes,
he
please
he
do.
tricks Unyo to cover his debt, even though Unyo thinks he's tricking. It was kind of they're both tricking each other, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
type of situation. Although I think in Unyo's case, yeah, sure, he was trying to gain a new asset, but I also think because he's such a tsundere Shinomiya,
Mm,
I bet he was doing it because he's being a good older brother, trying to watch out for them, and actually it was trying to protect them under the face of or facade
right.
of, oh, I'm actually tricking you.
I like I like thinking of it that way. I hadn't thought of it that way exactly because I only really thought of it like Unyo was thinking that he was tricking Miyuki, and Miyuki was aware of
Uh-huh.
Unyo taking advantage of him, while at the same time himself taking advantage of Unyo. So like Miyuki would have been
Uh-huh.
aware of the whole situation, but Unyo wasn't, and maybe he still isn't. But still, adding the fact that
Uh-huh.
he may have still done it, I guess with a yes, something actually kind in mind. Then yeah,
It could be like a just unconscious or
right.
unconscious, whatever the term, something that he's
Like
not really
subconscious.
subconscious. Yeah, he's not really meaning to do that per se, but it's just his instinct is to be protective in the roundabout way, because he's
Yeah.
kind of done that for the very beginning with Kaguya, uh, that we found out
Right.
somehow he was redeemed in those ways,
Yeah.
and with the burning of the will, and making it sure that Kaguya was safe no matter what, and various other things, like it just seems to be up his alley that he would try to make it seem like he's being manipulative, but still trying to protect his future son-in-law and daughter, and not son-in-law, brother-in-law. I
Right.
guess he was
Right.
supposed to be the father figure, but brother-in-law and daughter. Dang it, sister. I'm struggling.
It's
Uh,
okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, I like that. And something else I like about this chapter is that it is potentially the very last Shirogane versus Shinomiya mind game of the whole series.
oh,
You know?
I don't think the mind games are over, but between Shinomiya and Shirogane, you're probably right.
Right? I think it definitely could be at least. uh,
It would be interesting in the next volume if we did get another kind of battle of the minds between Kaguya and Miyuki themselves,
mm,
kind of as a throwback in a way. I'm not
true.
entirely sure how he's going to want to, or how he ends this story, but there
Mm.
could be an interesting moment like that.
That would be nice, to be fair. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe the final chapter actually is like, even though it's not like
Yeah.
totally a traditional one, but on some
Uh-huh.
level a mind game between them, I would really like that.
Yeah, I would like that too. But I don't think the mind games are completely done.
No.
There may be some other ones at play, but
Yay.
before we end up talking about that eventually, I did want to touch on again, and some of these points I'm really just bringing up for the sake of getting my thoughts on the matter out there.
Mm.
I still think the dream to save his father's business, while admirable and a great one, and a good reason why he'd want to go to Stanford, I suppose.
Mm.
I still think it's inconsistent with the beginning of the story, where it seemed like his dream was to become an astronaut and go into space and things like that. Or maybe not go into space, but just work in astrology and
Mm.
something that really interested him. And yes, people's interests can change, but the way it's perceived about this reviving the business dream is that he's
Mm.
always had this plan in mind
Right.
for a long
Yeah.
time. And it's like, what?
Uh-huh.
You can't just throw this on us randomly.
I
I'm
know.
glad they're committed to it. I'm glad they're committed to it. But it seems like we've erased what was established previously.
Yeah, and I did feel similarly. I was also finding myself kind of wishing that they'd established that dream of his a lot earlier.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, it works for the story and for his intentions and his future and whatnot. So
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, plus it has the connection to the Shinomiya family, and that they were the ones responsible for the demise of that company and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it is still nice, but yeah, definitely it could have been done better if it had been set up
Right.
earlier. But yeah.
Yeah. In the end, I think it is an important aspect of the final conclusion, the final arc, and all that. Like,
Mm.
it was an important aspect to have. It just, again, would have been nice if it was set up a little bit better.
Right. But anything else on Miyuki?
No, that's it.
Cool. Then let us move on to Miko Ino.
Okay.
According to Miyuki, Miko is the student council member who has matured the most over the past year. And while me personally, I'm inclined to agree with him, I don't think it's necessarily an easy choice. Like, if one would look
Yeah.
at the student council members and decide who matured the most over the course of the past year, I don't think it's necessarily got to be Miko, because I think, especially with Yu and Kaguya, like, I think they are good competitors in that field as well.
And then
Um,
and then Chika, like, do you know how much ramen she can eat? Like, that's really an improvement. I'm kidding.
For
I'm
sure.
absolutely kidding. There was almost no growth there. No, there was
Yeah.
some growth. We talked about that in the past, but
Right. Well, right.
in the recent volumes. But anyway,
But yeah, like, so while I fully understand like where Miyuki is coming from, I could easily understand if other readers would have other picks for that. And I guess I wanted to know, what do you think about that, James? Like, who would
yeah.
be your pick for the student council members who's had the most, or who has matured the most over the past year?
So I think from my perspective, I'd probably say Ishigami. Although Kaguya's a close second. I think Miko's third. Not because I don't think she's matured. I think she has, but it hasn't been as drastic, maybe, as the other two,
Hmm.
in my opinion. But I think from Miyuki's perspective, it's definitely between Miko and Ishigami. I don't think he sees Kaguya's change as drastic because, well, not to use an overused phrase, but love is blind, kind of.
Mm.
So I don't know. Maybe he never saw or
Ah.
truly saw all of these changes in Kaguya's maturity,
Hmm.
even though we, the readers, know that she's grown quite a bit and changed quite a bit.
Right.
There's that.
That's fair. That's fair.
One other thing I want to mention is about in the year. While we've established that you know, there hasn't been a whole lot of time that's passed. He he could be talking about the school year, when they became second and third years. You know what I mean?
Huh. Fair. I suppose it could have been.
Because that does seem to be a way that Japanese students will determine their time. But I could be wrong. Like I'm not gonna speak for the Japanese text. I should have faith in the translators. I should. Although it has been kind of mixed with Kaguya. Let's be honest. Sorry, Viz, but it hasn't been always consistent.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of my answers there.
Right, and like I guess one point against that though, although I do like the point, is like the way he expresses it, at least in the English translation in the book here. He says, "I didn't know people could change so much in just 1 year." To me, it does feel like the time of a year, more so than the school year. I guess it could be though. I guess I'm not 100% on that. And I guess if that is the case, if that is what he means, then it definitely makes a lot more sense for it to guarantee, like, definitely 100% be Miko to have grown, because she did definitely a lot of her growing after they started the new classes or whatever. Although she did a lot of growing before then as well. But anyway, yeah. Regardless of what he means, I do personally agree with Miyuki's take on that.
So, you don't think Ishigami would have changed more? Because we're talking about a guy who didn't have any friends really besides Miyuki, and then all of a sudden not all of a sudden, over time, he's able to overcome so much inner, I guess, depression and anxiety, social anxiety, and he's still working on it, of course. But now he actually has support outside of student council. He feels more comfortable with himself, and not to diminish what Miko has done with herself and accepting things about herself as well. But I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about basically the entire story of Kaguya, it has to be Ishigami, in my opinion.
I do think it's a close call, regardless of I definitely
where do you put Kaguya?
That's what I meant. That's what I meant at the start when I started this. Like, I do think it's a close call between Miko, you, and Kaguya. So like I would understand anyone who would say either of those three as their top pick. I am choosing to agree with Miyuki though, and choosing Miko because she also had she's also gone through this growth of connecting with people similarly to you, not the exact same. Obviously they're all different, so it also makes it hard to compare them, I suppose. But she also only had one friend before, and now she has multiple. And if you really look at her at the start of volume 7, or in volume 7 when she's introduced, she is so different, like personality wise and just coolness wise or whatever. She is very hot-headed and not very cool at all back then, which is very unlike what she is now, and especially what she dares to express and come across as now as well. But yeah, I think all of them are great picks for this regardless.
She's not asking for boys to shave their heads anymore, so that's definitely a plus.
That's huge development. Yeah. In fact, she even is very fond of a guy with rather long hair, so.
Yeah.
It's
oh, the irony.
Yes.
all I'm saying is, if they ever get in a relationship, you better be very much aware where the razor is at all times. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh dear. But Miko also said to Miyuki that she thinks of him as a big brother, and I thought that was such a sweet statement, considering all the bonding time that they've had together. In addition to Miyuki obviously initially having saved her during her election speech, but like ever since then it's really continued, and I think Miyuki's and Miko's character relationship is one of my favorite kind of duos in the series.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a lot of fun to see them grow together and grow from each other as they have been. It's great, and for Miko to express what she expressed here in this volume, it did kind of, I guess, solidified that in a very sweet way, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And of course, she goes on to tease Miyuki. And and I guess that's also, at least for a moment, kind of making both Miyuki and Kaguya uncomfortable. But I do love that Miko's sense of humor is so funny to me every time. It's not the first time, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that we see this, but it's just so funny every time to me. And also in that scene, Miko said that Kaguya and Miyuki are her ideal couple, and it's sweet of her to say that just in and of itself. But what I
I
love the
think
most
she said something
about
similar before
well, yeah, I
as
was gonna
well.
get to that, or well, sort of. At least from my recollection, what I was going to get to is that back all the way back in Volume 7, shortly after Miko's introduction to the story, she said to Kaguya, "You're despicable. You and ex-president Shirogane are a perfect match." And then now here she said that they are her ideal couple.
Yeah.
So even though obviously she came from a completely different place then, like the angle is very different, the situation is very different, it still is essentially her saying more or less the same thing, kind of, just with very different meanings, of course. So I love how it shows, well, the development between all of these characters, for one, and also how really both back then and now Miko saying that thing was able to sway Kaguya over to her side, kind of. Although, again, in different ways, but it's still fun to see, I guess, how the story rhymes with itself in that way, even though, yeah, it's different situations, but I'm sure it was intentional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if there was another time where she mentioned something along those lines. Maybe it was more so that she was supporting Miyuki and Kaguya.
That may have happened at some point.
But I feel like there has been something like that before. Uh, I'll have more to say on that later.
All right.
But yeah, no, that was really really good stuff with Miko.
Yeah, yeah. It's also funny how Miko ends up in the exact same summer break outing dilemma problem, kind of, that Miyuki and Kaguya were
Exactly.
in at the start of the story.
Exactly. The Lovers War games are back.
Yes, it's a never-ending cycle.
Miko versus you.
Yes. uh,
One thing about that chapter that kind of took me back is they aren't close enough to exchange line messages. What? Like, what about everything that's happened to this point? Like, you had him at your house.
right.
Like, surely you could text each other. Like, I mean, yes, it adds to the love is war mindset and whatnot, but I don't buy the fact that they wouldn't be able to comfortably exchange line messages. Surely they've progressed that far, but whatever. I mean, it's probably a pride thing as well.
I think it's partially that, and yeah, and the tsundere thing from Miko's side of it all as well. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, it could be just he's got to message me first, kind of a thing.
I wouldn't be
Maybe.
surprised if that's how
Yeah.
she's thinking about it.
I mean that's basically how Miyuki and Kaguya were when they first got their text messages and whatnot. I think.
Oh yes. But I did like how Miko, at least she started to try to solve that by kind of reverting back to her old self, kind of like this super strict, bossy self, by really kind of ordering people around, and like you got to study, you can't be on vacation all summer and stuff like that, and that's
I
just kind of
I feel like that self is still there.
I mean, it is. Although I do think she's more aware of it now, and like she used
Yes,
it more as like to benefit from it in this instance, for example.
that's fair.
So for sure, it's not all gone, and I'm glad that it's not, because it's still a part of her.
Very first
You know.
chapter, she does act exactly like that, and then it's quickly subsided.
Oh, by
Chika.
Chika, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Although
it's
I do still think
definitely
it's
still there, but you're
right.
right. She's using it to her advantage, whatever that
Mm.
means.
right, but more consciously, I think, than it has
Fair.
been in the past. I believe. Um, but yeah, and then of course, like, I guess also on that, I did love seeing how Miyuki is secretly rooting for her from the skies of California.
Yeah. Uh,
uh, her guardian angel. Then there was the chapter where Miko was playing Minecraft,
yeah.
um, which, well, just funny name change first of all, I guess,
Yeah.
but
But gamer Miko's back.
precisely, she is, and I think that girl talk session sort of became a lesson for Miko in kind of learning to rely on others and to accept the help of others, because it was thanks to Teruko's advice that she ended up reaching out to you at the end of that chapter. She probably wouldn't have otherwise, I don't think.
No, well, no, absolutely not.
Mm,
She was under the mindset that she had to be, at his same level, which is a very similar thing that Miyuki was dealing with when it came to Kaguya. That I got to be on her level, or otherwise I won't be able to be with her, and whatnot.
precisely, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, in this instance, it's a little less serious. It's about gaming,
Yeah.
not terribly serious,
Uh-huh.
but you know, I think the things that were said there are very true. In that, you know, most gamers are pretty open to tutoring another person and showing
Mm.
off their skills in a way. Maybe not in
Yeah,
a oh, look how great I am, but more so in a tutoring, a teacher mentor type role.
right.
And I don't think that's limited to guys or gals. I think it's
Mm.
all around the spectrum. If someone's really good at something, you know, more often than not, if it's something that they're close with or are comfortable with, then they're usually pretty open to share in their talents.
Right. And also it the idea that it's like for a lot of humans it's like a natural kind of thing to want to teach others.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that I could be wrong, but I have some kind of vague memory of that same concept being relevant in some previous chapter of Kaguya-sama,
Mm.
probably way earlier in the story. But and I was thinking about it, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out where that had been mentioned before. But I feel like it had been a similar thing where like that the narrator came in and said something about like teaching others about things that you know is a natural thing for humans, and so it's like or whatever. Like, um, I have some memory of that. So if I guess, or do you know, James, if that's something that's happened before, or did it sound familiar to you?
I can't remember off the top of my head. The only thing, only thing that comes to mind is Mama Chica just being
Right.
so willing to teach uh, time and time again.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, but I'm not. I wasn't completely sure if that was where it was from. And again, I could be wrong. Like maybe it hadn't even been in Kaguya-sama at all. But I guess if any one of the listeners knows what I may be thinking of, then please do reach out to us either in the YouTube comments or in our Discord server, which is linked in the description. Because I would love to know where, if it's true that I got this from. But yeah. And something else that because you mentioned the like getting onto the same level as her love interest, similarly to Miyuki
hmm
was fighting for or attempting to do, and I guess on some level is still attempting to do.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and like how it's similar but obviously different because it's like in a gaming context instead and whatnot.
hmm
Um, Another thing that is a little bit similar to that is that Miko asked you, "Do you mind carrying me?" And you replied, "Not at all."
hmm
Which obviously carrying in this case obviously that doesn't mean literal carrying, but in the gaming sense, like obviously like helping out or like supporting, um, in that kind of way. But it made me think about the instance way back in the story when you was asked to carry Miko like a princess, which back then both of
Ah.
them were very against the idea of that, because it was during this friendship like thing that Kobachi and Miyuki were doing for them, and like they were I believe what they ended up doing back then was like I guess he was holding Miko up in like ropes, like he wasn't even touching her as he was lifting her up. Like it was this weird, really weird thing.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and it's like they were obviously clearly back then not keen at all on you carrying Miko, but now they are happy to do it, even though obviously, yeah, carrying in this case is a bit different, but it still reminded me of that. And like I guess these days, even literal carrying, I don't think they would really mind at all.
You know where my mind just went?
Where?
Really, really only barely related to this. Kobachi being the one that was, well, it was also Miyuki, but she was also kind of leading them through that exercise.
Hmm.
Did she just know that they were gonna act that way, and did she take pleasure in the fact that they were hating each other, or
Oh my
did
goodness.
I I I don't know, like was she kind of sensing the fact that they could be a totally be a thing eventually,
Huh.
or did she want the flames? I don't know. I don't know. It's just interesting going
Yeah.
thinking back in hindsight to that
Hmm.
chapter, be like, huh,
Yeah.
what
Kobachi
what was going?
is one of the harder characters I think to read and to understand totally in all
Yeah,
of the like the sequence of events and everything.
in the beginning, or not at the beginning, but at certain points in the story, I did mention that, oh, maybe she has a thing for Ishigami, and it turned out to be true. But at that instant, I don't know if I had thought that. But anyway,
Right, right.
interesting thought idea. But I do like that potential connection between that scene and this scene, where look how far we've come.
Right. I mean, yeah, it really shows huge development, and yeah, the final volume better give us even more development between these two.
Even more carrying.
Right. I would love that.
Yeah, I think that's everything I have on Miko.
Great. Me as well. Then next, let's move on to Chika Fujiwara. She faces off against the final ramen king of Tokyo, Jay Suzuki, who she had met
Whoa.
before, just not in a ramen restaurant. And it turns out that
Hmm.
Jay Suzuki is the greatest of the four ramen kings,
Dun
apparently.
dun dun.
uh, but yeah, that chapter was fantastic.
Yeah, he stood no chance against the mighty Chika.
Not at all. uh,
Man, those guys were so noisy in there. the, the
yeah.
people the people in the restaurant were so noisy.
Yeah, like it was truly a worthy finale to Chica's ramen arc, and how, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess at this point, she's basically become the ultimate ramen king.
Yeah.
And of course, she is completely oblivious to all of it.
But she prefers sushi and yakiniku. That would be her last meal.
Right, right. Oh my
Uh,
goodness, that's so funny.
just the
uh,
deadpan answer
right, yeah.
expression.
No, of course, her favorite food wouldn't be ramen. Why would you think that?
Why would you think that?
uh,
Gosh.
One of the funniest things to me in that chapter was how like Chika has really become a ramen celebrity at this
Yeah.
point, and like having fans and followers. Like it's so great.
Was there some sort of video or stream of her?
I have no clue.
Like there was, or maybe it was just a Reddit comment, because there seemed to be a panel where it was replying, it implied like social media, that
Yeah.
either someone had filmed her, or maybe they were talking about. So it's like a live thing. Do you see that? What an amazing watch! This could be the beginning of a new era, like something live. Like
Right,
I
right.
don't. Was someone streaming that somewhere? There
I
was a
suppose.
guy
I
holding
guess so.
his phone up.
Right. And then I suppose that's
Was he
possible.
holding it the whole time? No, he wasn't holding it the whole
Uh,
time though. So I don't know. Don't know. But either way, yes, like she is turned into a ramen celebrity apparently.
yes. She's consuming history itself with her chopsticks. I love that bit. Just how seriously they're all taking it.
Ramen is freedom.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. Truly a fantastic Chica chapter.
Yeah. This is kind of was an offhanded statement or comment about Chika, but the one esports girl, I forget her name.
Terako?
Terako. She mentions that Chika understood the power of games, and that's why she kept, forcing the student council to do it because she wanted to bring people closer together, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been interpreted before as well.
Uh-huh.
Then she said she didn't care if she won or lost. I'm like, what? Hold up, that is not true.
I also paused for that one.
she was in it to win it.
She was cheating in order to win.
I totally disagree.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where she's getting off on that.
I was actually planning on bringing up the same exact thing about that comment from her on Chika.
In comedy?
No, here, but I didn't. Well, I took away that note because I guess part of me was like, well, maybe Tereko is right, even though I initially, my spontaneous thought was exactly like yours. Like I was like, no, she's cheating in order to win. Like she's taking it very seriously, I believe. Like it's not all for fun. But then I was like, maybe it is all for fun still. Like maybe she enjoys toying with people by cheating in the games, and like it's just part of the fun for her, and to connect with people, even though she's cheating and not playing fair. It may still all be for fun,
Yeah, I mean, it seriously, it really is all for fun, but I think she finds a lot of fun in winning and to do anything to do so. So the whole doesn't care. I mean, okay, look, I guess once the game is over, emotions have calmed down. She's probably maybe Pachika's thinking, yeah, that's what's fun. This is a great bonding moment. Like, at the end, it doesn't really matter if I win or lose. But maybe in the heat of the moment, it's very much intense. I must win no matter what. I don't know. But I pause to fully agree with that.
Fair.
That statement. And not to say that she's terrible or anything like that. I still think she very much wanted to bond with the student council through the games.
Right.
That's probably a big reason why she played them. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is that all on Chika?
Yes.
Then moving on to Yu Ishigami. He expresses that he thinks of Miyuki as his number one friend. Not at all surprising to see him say that, but I still thought it was sweet that he did say that to Miyuki and like verbally actually express that. I really did appreciate that honesty and like I guess openness and like expressing how he feels about that.
Yeah.
Very nice. And he is spending his summer vacation in Switzerland for his language studies, which was also a fun or I think that was more surprising to me. Not super surprising because we definitely have been seeing him taking his studies more seriously gradually, but he really is taking it seriously now.
Rich Japanese people going to study abroad wherever they feel like. Gosh, right.
Yeah,
it's very common among upper middle class and upper class in Japan to go study abroad. I don't in America. I really only see it with like you have some college students, but in high school, I really only see it
right. That is
the
very
super
early.
rich.
True. That makes sense.
Anyway, sorry not to bring in economical differences.
No, that's all good. But it is nice to see him taking his studies so seriously, and Miko really should be prouder of him for that. But I get that she's let down by the fact that he won't be around, of course. But
yeah. But like we were saying earlier, technology it bridges that gap so easily.
Right,
especially for gamers.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So what else do we got?
Oh, I don't have anything on him.
Then is there any other character you want to talk about?
Nope. That's it.
Wonderful. Then moving on to some comedy.
Let's go.
The Wiener Samurai Game.
Chika wants to say wieners so bad.
She does.
Mom is gone. We can say whatever we want.
I love how just absurd that whole thing was, and Chika just getting just more and more crazy kind of.
Yeah.
uh,
Hysterical or maniacal or whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
Just whew.
Whew.
I kind of expected Kaguya to burst out laughing when she heard wiener.
Right. I was wondering or thinking the same thing.
Oh, I'm glad we were thinking the same thing. But then I did some more thinking as well. It was established that she had grown past that. You know, she had reached the maturity level in that in humor at some point. So I don't think wiener is quite as funny to her anymore.
Right. Yeah, because evidently she was listening in supposedly on that whole conversation, and well, there's no evidence that she was giggling behind the door or anything like that. So yeah, she has grown.
And back on Chika, has she just been suppressing this urge to say wiener this whole time? Like
this whole time.
I don't know. Even though like she got quite her fill in that infamous chapter.
Right.
But maybe she loved it so much she's just been itching. It's like, come on, just let me say it. Say it.
Really, overall, this volume I think brought us back to a lot more kind of Kaguya style comedy compared to at least the past two volumes weren't particularly comedy heavy.
Right.
This one definitely brought us back into the swing of things in terms of the comedy, and I was very happy to see that. Even though I did appreciate the other books as well.
Same. Yes. No, but I do like how it seems we are ending the series on what we started the series on.
Right.
You know, that comedy and maybe not the Love is War mind battles quite yet. Maybe we'll get that next volume. Who knows? But it certainly had a little bit in there, and the comedy is certainly on point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say earlier is that a lot of the chapters and the beats in this volume kind of mirror the series as a whole. We have the wiener thing. We have, you brought up Miko teasing Miyuki. There's other things that are kind of repeats from what we've already had in previous chapters that seem to be like nice callbacks in this one,
right.
Or in this volume. So as we go through these jokes, I'm sure we'll see. For example, in that same wiener chapter, Miko is refusing to play, and then Chika says, "If you play with us, I'll give you this custard pudding." That's exactly the Coke joke again.
Yes, for sure.
I'll give you this cola.
Uh-huh.
So it to me there's a lot of references to past jokes, not I'm not saying like laziness or anything. I'm saying like as a homage to the great comedy that we've had all these years.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. And obviously, like, the ramen chapter is just the continuation of a long-lasting thing as well. Like, in that way. So yeah. Another comedy thing that I loved was how Kaguya was like in her thoughts. She was like so dearly just wishing to remember Miyuki's face and spending time with him. And then we flip the page to Miyuki wearing this ridiculous outfit.
Yes, it's so funny.
Like that's the image that she will remember. And I also loved how into it Miyuki was. Like he was just surprisingly happy to goof around like that.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if Chika and Miyuki could have been a thing. I'm just saying they could both be goofballs if they wanted to.
That's damn true.
But that bridge was burned long ago.
Yeah.
It was brutal, but also funny when Kaguya had no chill when she bragged about being lovey-dovey with Miyuki,
Yeah.
and then there's a moment where she's had like the total victory like
Yeah, right.
panel. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was so brutal.
Very brutal.
Goodness. And Chika coming to talk to Miyuki about putting natto sauce on natto. Like, what? What? I love that too. Like, just so. I mean, random in just the way Chika usually or often is. I also like Kaguya's first couple of photos of you were really bad and really funny.
I'm curious about that hand position. Did she tell him, "Okay, make this pose"?
Right.
Or did he come up with it? He was like, how's it? I don't know. Either way, don't do it again.
Yeah. So creepy almost.
Oh, this was another callback to previous volume where when Miko is expressing her feelings to Miyuki,
Yeah.
thanking him and whatnot,
Uh-huh.
she says, "Oh, I think I might actually despise this Miko Ino or something like that." And then next page, she's like, "I think I might be quite fond of Miko."
Yeah, right.
Miko Ino.
Both of those reactions are so funny. I love them so much.
I'm pretty sure that something similar happens in. Well, I mean, it's not the first time that she's had a switch between two very like polar opposite reactions.
For sure.
And not definitely not the first time with Miko either.
No, probably not. Like, I think probably Chika is probably the one that has happened with the most, but Miko is also probably up there at a couple times that has happened.
Although I think with Chico, did I say Chico? Well, I think with Chika,
Uh-huh.
it's probably stays negative for the most part.
Oh no.
There's some times where it switched positively, but for the most part, I think she just considers Chika to be well, not very nice things.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of sad. Like, she refused to call Chika-chan,
Yeah.
for example, in this volume. Like, come on, Kaguya, be a little kinder to Chika.
That's just their relationship, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, the narrator continues to call them best friends, so I guess it's true still, but...
Referring to the gaming chapter, games are more fun when you shamelessly exploit people.
Right.
And this is true. This is fact. I've done this. To be honest, it was kind of not forced on me, but it's my Japanese friends. It's like I'll be playing with them. It's like, oh hey, do you have this? Oh no, I don't. Oh here, take this. Oh, do you have this? I don't. I mean, I'm very grateful, and especially a lot of times it's like, man, I don't have time to do all this stuff. It's like, oh well, I'll help you out. It's like, oh great.
Yeah.
So bless those friends who just are so good at the game that they want to help other people. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I also have a very sweet friend group that it's been a while now, but I have been playing Final Fantasy 14 with a very, very, very sweet friend group that was carrying and helping me in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, that's great.
So, it's amazing. And of course, I mean, we already talked about the Chika Ramen chapter, I think it's the funniest chapter of the volume. Like, even on my reread of the volume, it got me laughing out loud a couple times. So,
what do I think is the funniest chapter? That's a good question. Maybe the Wiener one?
That one's also up there.
But the Kaguya Maki was pretty funny though.
That too, yeah. There's a lot of good options, and I'm happy about that because of the last ones not having that, like that or that much.
Hot take. I actually don't think the ramen chapter is as funny as the previous ramen ones. I kind of think it was overdone a little bit.
Really?
But
oh.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad we had this conclusion. Like, I was looking forward to it, but it is the kind of the same thing. Oh no, this girl, she'll never be able to do this. Oh, what? She's eating ramen in an unconventional way? How dare she? What? She's enjoying it? What? What? I'll try it. Oh my gosh, I'm enjoying it too. You have bested me.
Right. I mean, sure. It was predictable. I agree, but I didn't mind the predictability of it, or that part of the predictability. What really got me was kind of the over the top reactions from the fans. Kind of, I think that was a new and fresh kind of thing for this chapter that I really enjoyed.
Fair. And there was definitely some good one-liners and definitely some funny moments that I still got a chuckle out of,
Yeah.
or I still laughed at.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, no, so that's it for comedy for me. That's all I
Same
got.
same for me. All right then. We are moving on to predictions, and this is our last chance ever to predict anything for the Kaguya-sama series. This feels
They all die.
absurd.
The
No.
end.
Oh my goodness.
After living long and very lovely lives, okay?
Right, yeah. After having played the real game of life, and married and whatnot, and gotten rich and everything. Yes, yes.
I'm a teen mom.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. Wait, are you referring to me? Those years are behind me, buddy. Anyway.
Yes, well, so, Miko and Yu's love story needs a resolution.
Yep.
And for that resolution, I demand a kiss.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yes. I will settle for nothing less than a kiss.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Because, they have been this close. And you can't see, but my fingers are very close to each other right now. They have been this close to kissing before.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we gotta see a kiss.
What comes first, though? Hand holding, dating, kissing? There's a lot of stuff that has to happen still. I mean, technically they're not even line comfortable yet. Although I would hope after the Switzerland gaming sesh that they would totally be better, on good terms there.
For sure, yeah, that's got to be huge in terms of their communication.
Yeah, I mean, if the next volume is just a huge chunk of them exploring Ishigami and Miko's relationship to lead up to that kiss, that'd be great.
It would be. Oh, it really would be.
Because to be fair, there's not a whole lot more you can explore with our main couple.
Right. Exactly.
The only problem to that is, though, we're getting to these final chapters, and it seems like we're going to be given some sort of look at what everyone's up to, after the climax, and not just a couple characters. You know what I mean?
For sure. Right. Yeah. I'm not doubting that we will get like especially at the very end, like some good content on Kaguya and Miyuki, but and like I wouldn't expect like I guess a majority of the focus necessarily to be on Miko and Yu, or I don't know. I guess maybe half the volume in total. I guess it would be nice to see, or for that amount of it to be focused on them at least. That would be sweet.
Yeah. So I'm totally not against them kissing and would love it. I don't know, man. I think we could get another Love is War battle. I think it would be interesting not interesting, but I could see him trying to do a cycle type of thing, I guess because he already kind of hinted it at in this volume where Miko is trying to get time with Ishigami. Maybe not trying to get him to confess per se, and maybe that the next volume leads into that somehow. And I don't know if Ishigami is going to feel the same way, because we really haven't gotten too much of his side of the relationship, right? Like he may be uncertain about his feelings.
I thought it was rather clearly established that he has started to develop feelings for Miko.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
he's certainly not at the point of Miko, though. Is what I'm
no,
trying to
no,
say.
no. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
she is farther along, kind of on that.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe next volume we do get to a point where Ishigami feels strongly about wanting to confess,
Right. I'd love to see that. Mm.
but maybe somehow it turns into getting the other person to confess, which I don't know, could be a thing, a interesting callback to the beginnings of the story. But at the same time, like all this development has happened. Let's reward it with a kiss or some sort of like establishment of the relationship, right? Can we get
Yeah,
that?
I would love that.
Yeah. Here's hoping. Here's hoping. I really hope that he delivers on that front.
For sure. Another thing on the Miko side of things that I think would be nice to see, although it may only be brief, I would love to see her win the student council presidential election
Agreed.
in the final volume. Like to see that, like for that to come full circle, kind of would be beautiful to see.
Who's on the student council?
Ooh, I mean, I know you expressed that he wasn't necessarily interested in staying, but he's always, or ever since the start, ever since he was introduced, literally, he has been kind of not always, or at the very least, at the very start, I believe one of his very first lines was like, "I'm quitting the student council." So like he's been there before, basically.
For various reasons.
Right, different reasons for sure. But I think it would be nice if, especially if Miko becomes the next student council president, if you would be on the council as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, Kobachi doesn't seem like the type to want to be on the council, so I don't think she would be there.
Yeah, it came to my mind, but I agree. What about
Yeah.
Kay? Like
Is she?
in this volume, she said something about the transferring of or something about student council things. When isn't she
Oh
starting
yeah.
school?
Is she and Moya starting the first year after? Or wait, no, no,
I
no. Wait.
I'm pretty
Ah,
sure.
not currently. Like no, it would be nearly a year before they start first year
Oh,
at high
that's
school,
right.
I believe. Um, right. So yeah,
Okay.
probably later though. But like for
So
this,
when Miko and Ishigami are third years, that's when Kay comes in as a first year.
I think so. Yeah.
Gotcha,
Uh,
gotcha, gotcha.
and I'm sure she and Moya both would join the council then, but but yeah, not for this next student council. What are the other options? I guess Shiranui? No, she probably wouldn't have time since she's like doing idol work or whatever it is that
Oh
she's
yeah, no
doing.
way. No
Um,
way she don't do it.
I can't even think of like who else could possibly be there. Um, Rei Onodera?
Maybe,
Maybe,
maybe.
maybe. She and Miko are definitely quite close, so I could see her joining. And plus, she also has somewhat of a relationship with you as well. So, yeah, yeah, that would be nice. But I was thinking that if we do get to see like if the next volume does go as far as to show the next student council presidential election and showing Miko winning it and all that, I believe we would also end up potentially seeing Miyuki's 18th birthday because his birthday would be, I believe, around that same time. And
Ah.
and I guess on Miyuki as well as Kaguya, maybe they'll get engaged. I mean, Kaguya seems to really want it,
Yeah.
and Miyuki did fill out that marriage registration form, so I feel like
Dude.
they are building up for a an engagement and maybe even marriage. Although they would be very
Dude.
young if they got married already, but um,
Yeah, there'd have to be I think there had to be a time skip just a little bit.
mm.
Um but yeah, I mean I was lame and just said maybe one final romantic moment between Kaguya and Miyuki. But I love that specific getting engaged
Mm,
idea. I think that would be a perfect way to end this
Right,
Besides
right.
having maybe some sort of mind battle between Miyuki and Kaguya, like
But what
getting
if
the other
the
person to.
engagement is a mind
Yes,
game?
wouldn't that be great?
That would be great. uh.
Um, another prediction I have about them is could could we get to the point where it is third year graduation and we get all the way to there and Kaguya ends up getting into Stanford
Right, right.
and maybe goes from there. I don't know how
Maybe.
I don't know how far we're going here.
Right, it's hard to know.
And then yeah, I mean, what other characters are we gonna see? You mentioned Odetta. Are we gonna see Hayasaka? Are we gonna? What about well, Maki? We get more Maki. Are we gonna see
Mm-hmm.
another trip to India?
Well, I do actually have some predictions on that side of the story.
Oh,
Or for
okay.
the for well, so in the first volume, Nagisa and Tsubasa became a couple, right?
Yes.
I think it might be kind of funny if in the last volume they would split up.
No.
I think I would
No.
find that
Dude.
quite good.
Dude. She's pregnant,
Because
probably.
that okay.
Come
So
on.
if the Tsubasa or yeah, if his family tradition does continue, the Tanma tradition does continue
Uh-huh.
in that way, then yeah, sure. Then I hope they do stay together, absolutely. But if that tradition doesn't continue with his generation, I think it would be
Terrible tradition, by the way.
I think yeah, very very much so. But I do think it would be kind of funny if they literally got together in the first volume and ended it all in the last one because I feel like there's been little signs here and there about their relationship not being
Yeah. No, you're
perfectly
right.
great, you know. So like I definitely wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Um, and also kind of on that, I guess
No, but look
even
at the
if
I have to hold back. I have to push back. I have to push
uh-huh.
back
Okay.
because look at the volume 27. They are literally together, holding their graduation certificates. Like
Mm-hmm.
you do not put them on the cover, a cover that is split, mind you. Like this is only one half of it.
Right.
The other half is on the final volume. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way you break those two apart and have them on the cover like that.
Well,
I don't think.
you wouldn't want to spoil what happens in the last volume, right?
Oh come on, they do it all the time.
No.
Don't give me that.
Well, I think regardless of whether they break up or not, or rather, I should say, even if they break up, I don't think Maki is going to end up with Tsubasa in the end.
Oh,
Uh,
even if they
like
break up, whoa,
even
whoa.
if they break up, I don't think she ever had a chance with him.
What?
I don't think he's particularly interested in her in that kind of way. First of all, I mean, clearly he's
No.
very obsessed with Kashiwagi.
Well,
Um,
sure.
and secondly, I think Maki is way too proud to take the steps required to start anything like that with him. Even if he was single, she wouldn't take the steps because she never did, and I don't think she ever will.
Oh my gosh.
And I just think it's her destiny to be forever hopelessly obsessing with that guy.
Better. You're no better than Kaguya.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm aware of this. uh,
Well, out of all the predictions, I hope you're wrong about that one.
fair.
Not
That's
not
fair.
so much
That's fair.
not so much that she never gets to Tsubasa. Like, it's that scenario set up where they break up and Miko or no Maki never
Mm.
gets with him.
Uh-huh.
That's oof. That's rough.
I mean, because we also know that she really like she and Nagisa cherish their friendship with each other very much. Like they're best friends.
Mm-hmm.
If Maki would take over Nagisa's boyfriend after them having broken up, like that would be terrible for their friendship.
I think it depends. I think it really does.
I think dating your friend's exes is never a good idea under any circumstances.
No. I don't think that's true. I think it absolutely depends. Absolutely depends.
I guess.
If the guy was cheating on her with her best friend, yeah, that's terrible. And then if a guy goes to her best friend super quickly, yeah, that's also pretty terrible. But I don't know for sure if Kashiwaki's aware that Maki's in love with Tsubasa.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to know for sure. I think you may.
Yeah.
It's possible that she may have a suspicion, but it's not necessarily. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like Kashiwaki values their friendship enough that wouldn't be a huge deal. And I also think Maki probably would end up saying something as well. I really do think, despite her being a tsundere, she does care about the relationship she has with her friends, and
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, all pure speculation, and I'll crown you the Kaguya-sama Love is War king if that turns out to be true.
You mean if they would end up breaking up and Maki wouldn't end up with Tsubasa?
Yes.
After?
If that exact prediction comes out, I will call you Love is War King or the Love King.
Oh, wow. I will gladly take that title.
Okay. And I will have to call you Love King for an entire year.
Ooh.
I would have to say it at least once a podcast for an entire year if that prediction comes true.
My goodness. All right.
I'm putting it all on the line.
Wow, yeah.
Nothing happens if you get it wrong. Everything, you win everything if you get it.
My goodness. This is exciting.
I have no idea. Watch, I'm digging my hole. If people who are listening to this know how this ends.
Right, some people will know.
Don't say anything, please. Don't say anything.
Yes, please
until we read it for ourselves.
Oh boy.
I'm like, should I read the synopsis in the back real quick to see if it's any sort of hint at that?
I have not dared to read that.
No, I haven't either, but I will shortly. But yeah, I wish I had more awesome predictions like yours, but I don't have really too many.
I think we had some good predictions.
Yeah.
And I mean, over the whole course of the series, we've absolutely had some good predictions, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's been so much fun reading this together and predicting things together for this.
It has.
For this whole,
man.
It's so much fun.
Just the memories. I mean, we'll probably talk about some of our memories in the next final recording.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Just thinking back on when we started this journey together, and me reading or me recording in that little closet in one of my old places. And,
right.
just the memories of that will be a fond memory for a long time, and can't wait to see it. Well, I'm sad to see it all end, but I'm also excited to have the story conclude.
Absolutely, yeah. Because as much as I have really been loving this, I am excited for the ending. Hopefully, it'll hold itself to the same standard as the last couple of volumes at least have been. And if it does, I'm going to this will absolutely be one of the best things I've ever read or experienced as a story in general in my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, it's already a 10 out of 10 at this point.
It is.
It would have to do something egregious to get anything really lower. I mean, gosh, I don't know. I don't want to think about what it could do in order to get that.
Right. No, but, true.
I don't think it's going to replace Vinland Saga as my favorite manga that we cover.
Fair enough. Yeah.
but it certainly is one of my favorites. And 10 out of 10, like it has to be, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
So,
it
yeah.
is for me as well. And I feel like we're in good hands because I mean, if the whole series as a whole is anything to look at or to base our expectations for the last volume on, it can only be good. I feel like. Um,
Yeah.
in Akasaka we trust.
Yeah. Uh, I guess last thing I'll say is those people who were really, because they were pretty loud about how terrible the ending or how it had fallen off or whatever. I sorry to keep bringing it up, but I don't see it. Like I don't
Uh-huh.
see how what's happened in the story completely contradicts or goes away from what the story was previously. I mean, we've all had from the very beginning. It's been progressing towards more of a story driven uh, plot, but still comedic chapters thrown in.
Mm.
And I don't see how the ending here is dropping the ball. I mean, something unless something really terrible happens in this final volume,
Right.
it's been a solid ending.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely. So yeah, I do have some high hopes, I suppose. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Just very, very excited.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's it for this episode.
Yeah.
Very well then. If you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 28, the final volume. Bye bye!
See you later.
Ah, I am dying for some ramen right now.